Before Vikir regressed, destruction fell upon the world. The citizens of a town were its first victims as they looked at the skies one peaceful day, unaware that death was here. The gate that connected the demon realm and human realm appeared in the skies above the innocent people. When the demons began to invade, humanity called it the fall. The ones who opened the gate were the 10 high-ranked demons who first came to Earth. Known as the 10 elite corpses. During the long war against the demons, Vikir had the misfortune of meeting one of the 10 elite corpses on the battlefield. His first reaction upon facing the demonic creature was fear and shock. Because the outcome of his battle against it was simply miserable. Surrounded by his fallen comrades, Vikir could only cling onto his sword as he watched the one of the 10 elite corpses flex on top of the cliff. Out of the 671 people who joined the battle, 666 died. Out of the 5 survivors, 4 had lost their minds, so there was only one particular survivor. And the reason behind his survival was a simple one. According to the demons, they wanted the total number of humans they killed to match the number 666. What a flex. So the overwhelming power of the high-ranked demon of the 10 elite corpses was destruction itself. Back in the present, Vikir stares down at Andromalius, thinking that he couldn't believe that he was meeting one of those powerful 10 elite corpses right now. And approximately 10 years earlier. But something else was catching his attention. The endless amount of small skeletons, covered in blood, was everywhere in the cave. As he looks at them, Vikir wonders if Andromalius was devouring young children. But then the sudden laughter from Andromalius makes Vikir, whose bloodhound aura was running rampant, turn his attention back to the demon. Andromalius was snickering to himself as he could see how enraged Vikir was after seeing all the dead children's corpses. Using his hand, Andromalius shows off and reveals to Vikir that the children were still alive in his stomach. Which made him wonder if Vikir wanted him to bring them back to life. Using his hand to form the face of one of the dead children, Andromalius points it towards Vikir. Using the dead child's voice, Vikir could faintly hear the child, asking him to save him and that he misses his mommy. Seeing this disgusting act enrages Vikir even more as his eyes glowed more reddish. With another swing of Beelzebub, Vikir had sliced off Andromalius's remaining arm, causing him to scream in pain as he kneeled before Vikir even more. Our boy then tells him to stop talking as he knew that there was no way the dead could come back to life. Andromalius starts to panic over the sight of both his arms being missing, but then he smiles, revealing his completely regenerated hands and arms to Vikir. As he calmly stands back up, he tells Vikir about how he knew he had as many secrets as he did. Recalling that even Osiris, who was called a genius, only reached the level of a mid-rank graduator at the age of 30. And yet, here stood Vikir, who had reached the very same rank but at just the age of 17, signs of being an irregular. Andromalius's arm started to change form as he continues to state some facts, such as how Vikir possesses the devil's holy constellation known as Beelzebub. Which meant that there was a possibility that there was a big variable in the future. Revealing a demonic blade made from his own arm, Andromalius decides and reveals to Vikir that he needed to kill him right here and now. But our boy ain't no pushover. He stares at the demon head-on, flexing Beelzebub on his arm. Vikir tells Andromalius that the only one dying tonight was him. And so, the 2 sons of the Baskerville family, one from the La side, while the other came from the Van side, stood against each other in silence, in the center of the cave, surrounded by the skeletons of multiple children as the moonlight lighted their battlefield. Within a second, the sons began their fight, cutting and slashing one another endlessly, unleashing waves of the bloodhound aura everywhere. The 2 of them seemed to be on equal footing as either one was able to repel and attract one another's sword attacks. After exchanging multiple blows with one another in a mere few seconds, not a single blow has landed on either son. Andromalius started to smirk in the middle of their battle, thinking to himself that since Vikir's middle name was Van, it meant that there was a significant difference between them as he was named La. There was a rule in the family where the collateral line and illegitimate children, meant to be thrown away and used as shields, could only learn up to the 4th technique. Andromalius felt confident knowing this fact, as he believes that it means that Vikir couldn't defeat him as he knew up to the 6th technique, and so, in the midst of their blows, Andromalius manages to knock Vikir's arm away, much to our boy's shock. In that split second, he wasted no time at all and unleashed Baskerville's 6th technique towards Vikir. But Vikir was still calm. Facing the incoming 6th technique, he unleashes his own version of it to counter Andromalius. Leaving the demon with a stunned expression on his face, as he couldn't believe that Vikir knew about the 6th technique. But a smile still creeps on his face, as a sharp tentacle comes out of the side of his face. This was a surprise that he had prepared in advance as Andromalius had already predicted that Vikir would be hiding more things about himself. Instead of being surprised by the sudden new attack, Vikir's eyes were already locked onto it as the sharp tentacle reached inches away from his eyes. Using Beelzebub on his arm, Vikir unleashes even more of his bloodhound aura, covering the sword completing in it. Our boy unleashes his own surprise, catching Andromalius off guard as he fails to block Vikir's new and sudden attack. The Baskerville 7th technique sends the demon flying backwards after being cut. With strikes appearing on his body as he coughs blood, Andromalius recognizes the technique Vikir used against him as the 7th Fang. But as he wondered how it was possible for Vikir to know about the 7th technique when only the patriarch of the family is allowed to know, Vikir wasted no time at all and started to launch his other attack, with a fierce and deadly look in his eyes. This time, Vikir's attack lands successfully on the demon's body, destroying everything that was behind them. With Beelzebub plunged deep into Andromalius's chest, Vikir tells him about how demons always think that they were above humans and looked down on them. But to Vikir, fooling such big-headed demons was a piece of cake. As Beelzebub is covered in the demon's blood, Vikir recalled that even the heroes who closed the gate and ended the fall couldn't find all the 10 elite corpses and punish them. But it's different right now. The fall hasn't yet started, and the 10 elite corpses lack power since they were all in hiding. So if it's now, then it might be possible. Using his riz, Vikir whispers the word "hey" into Andromalius's ear. He continues to whisper to the demon about how he knew that they were planning on connecting the human realm to the demon realm, and that by killing him right now along with his friends, it would eventually lead to their plan being ruined. "Will I feel a little bit relieved?" asked Vikir with a murderous look and aura filling the cave as he stared right into Andromalius's face. For the first time in his demonic life, Andromalius started to experience a new dreadful feeling just as a question pops into his mind. A mere human is scaring me? Feeling anger over this fact, the demon bites hard, raging out and cursing at Vikir for making it experience such a thing. Soon enough, a shell made out of spikes and blood surrounds Andromalius, forcing Vikir to back off. Even after backing off, Vikir's eyes were still on the demon. Looking at the sudden change, he could see that Andromalius was inside something like a ball of thorns made out of blood. "Ah," said the demon as the ball started to slowly disappear. Once it burst, instead of human feet appearing, a pair of animal-like hooves was shown instead. The demon couldn't believe that he, Andromalius, would show a mere human like Vikir his true form. Oh my word, Andromalius has completely shed Set's human form and revealed his real demonic side. Emitting a deadly purple aura now. "Guess this guy never skips leg day, look at those thighs, man." The demon continues to show off his new form, even telling Vikir that he acknowledges that the extent of his power was unexpected. Summoning snakes like Medusa, Andromalius ends the chit-chat with a sudden snack attack. Kind of reminds me of Orochimaru from Naruto. The snakes all locked onto their target, Vikir, who simply stood still as they reached closer to him. Using a zigzag-like pattern, Vikir relentlessly cuts down the snakes that came close to him, but they were endless. Andromalius was enjoying this moment, telling Vikir to keep trying and slicing them. Vikir does as he says, leaping, doing backflips, in order to dodge the snakes while cutting and slicing them apart, making his way to Andromalius. But as he charges forward, Vikir is unaware of a single snake that manages to slip past his defenses. The snake manages to land a deep bite onto his shoulder, before Vikir slices off its head. Seeing this brought a smile to the demon's face, as he announced that with a single bite, it was all over for our boy. But Vikir simply looks at the bite marks on his jacket, telling Andromalius that he didn't know what he meant that it was over since he had just received a small injury. This time, a mouth with sharp fangs appears on Andromalius's palm within his hand. "Endless blood absorption," said the demon as the blood from Vikir's body started to escape through the snake's bite from before. Andromalius was literally eating the blood inside of Vikir's body, controlling and pulling it to him using the mouth on his palm. He finally reveals his true ability, the ability to control blood. As long as he stood up against a living creature, Andromalius believes that his ability is undefeated. That is until he faced our main character, who is currently calmly looking at his blood leaving his blood at a fast rate. But still giving off chill vibes about it. Meanwhile, Andromalius was telling Vikir that if he loses all of his blood, then he was going to shrivel up and die. As he continues to take in Vikir's blood, Andromalius reveals that his ability, endless blood absorption, was the power of a half-immortal. As long as there are living organisms around him, who are injured, he will never die. Vikir was still calmly looking at his blood leaving his body. But then he starts to smile, before breaking into a laughter, angering Andromalius, who shouts at Vikir about why he was laughing, wondering if he had lost his mind. Using his hand to hide his laughter, Vikir reveals that he finds it funny to see a demon enjoying himself when he doesn't even know what he was absorbing. It turns out to be true as the demon started to cough blood out all of a sudden. Andromalius kneels onto the ground in pain, wondering what was wrong with the blood after finding out that it wasn't ordinary. Seeing his reaction, Vikir asks the demon if he wants to see something cool. Using Beelzebub, Vikir makes a small cut across his wrist, letting it drip heavily onto the ground in front of Andromalius, who realizes that there was poison in Vikir's blood as it melts the ground the moment it touches it. But that wasn't the end to the magic show. Vikir shows off his fully regenerated wrist after he had cut himself. This sight leaves the demon stunned as he couldn't believe that there was a human who has this level of regeneration of that level. Along with the poison that can harm demons, Andromalius only knew that the ones that possess such potent poisons are the cunning spider from the La Rouge et la Noire mountain, also known as Madame Eight Legs, and the nine-headed snake that lives in the land of the Titans, and finally, the huge jellyfish that lives at the bottom of the Black Sea. He still couldn't believe that a lowly human could possess such a potent poison. But still, the demon could only scream in pain while kneeling in front of that lowly human. Vikir continues to taunt Andromalius, who was busy screaming in pain, asking him if he wanted more of his blood. Curious about the taste, Vikir licks his finger with his blood on it. Believing that he was right about how the madam's poison would work on the 10 corpses. The madam inside Beelzebub started to growl, as it seemed like she was pissed about how Andromalius didn't die from her poison. But this interaction proves something to Vikir. With the Baskerville 7th technique and Beelzebub's abilities, who had also reached the rank of highest-ranking graduator, can definitely defeat the 10 elite corpses. Feeling that death was close after that last attack from Vikir, Andromalius realized that he was too strong to face him. Thinking about how the hell did a monster like Vikir become this strong? In his mind, the demon decided that his priority right now is to survive and tell the other corpses about Vikir. So he needed to recollect the mana he had dispersed all around. And so, the barrier that was preventing people from entering the cave disappeared. Vikir could sense the change as he turned back to look at the entrance, believing that Andromalius had released the barrier. But as he looked back, the demon started to smile again. "Let water turn into blood," it said. Soon enough, massive amounts of water started to pool together, forming a ball in the air behind Vikir. As they formed a ball, the water started to turn red, as blood. Vikir looks at what was happening, figuring out that Andromalius also had the ability to turn water into blood too. Even though he doesn't have all his power, he figured that a high-ranking demon is still a high-ranking demon. Making a quick decision, Vikir cuts his wrist once again, and pours his blood into the pool of water. Reminding Andromalius that it didn't matter what he does with the blood now, as he wouldn't be able to absorb it like before. But the demon had a different plan in mind, revealing to Vikir that infusing his blood into the water so that he couldn't absorb it was useless. Because he didn't turn the water into blood to absorb it. Instead of being absorbed, the blood water started to float in the air, forming balls all around Vikir. "Arise, my blood knights," solo leveling reference anyone? After saying those words, the blob of blood water started to melt and dripped onto the cave grounds. Emerging out from it was a monster made of blood. Soon, Vikir was surrounded by the blood knights in every direction. With the appearance of the Blood Knights, Andromalius reveals to Vikir that they could use the Baskerville 6th technique, which he learned himself. The demon was confident that even though Vikir could use the 7th technique, he was sure that he couldn't go up against all the Blood Knights, who can use the 6th technique. I guess this demon has never heard of plot armor. With murder in his eyes, Andromalius was going full demon mode, promising Vikir that he was going to kill him and then kill everyone he loves one by one. Leaving our boy with these final words as he silently remains surrounded by all the Blood Knights. Regret going against the 10 corpses. Hearing that the Blood Knights could use the 6th technique, Vikir figured that things were getting slightly dangerous for him, so he started to look for something in his pocket. After all, he didn't exactly prepare for this kind of situation. In a flashback to the time he was walking with Hugo, Vikir was asking Hugo about the reward which was given to him, which was anything he wanted. Our boy takes out a whistle in his hand and looks at it. As he shows the whistle off to Andromalius, who becomes frightened upon seeing it, Vikir asks the demon if he knew about this particular whistle since he had lived in the Baskerville clan. The demon started to sweat even more as he realized that Vikir was going to blow on that very whistle in his hand. With a smirk on his face, Vikir didn't hesitate at all and took a deep breath in. Before blasting into the whistle with all his might, sending shockwaves throughout the cave and outside of it as well. A familiar but powerful figure was nearby, standing on the cliff as though waiting for Vikir to use the whistle. With a strong grip on his sword, the moment the whistle was blown, Andromalius was set into a full panic mode as he immediately ordered all the Blood Knights to kill Vikir quickly. As the Blood Knights obeyed the demon's command, Vikir reveals that the whistle he had just blown had the power to use the orders of the Baskerville clan, and that the black whistle also had another function. It allowed him to utilize the entire Baskerville clan force. As Vikir mentioned that function, a red line appears in the cave, and outside of the mountain as well, destroying everything in its path. Just the impact of that sudden attack was enough to blow every Blood Knight away from Vikir. Soon, more members of the Baskerville clan arrive with their swords ready. They unleashed a combination of the Baskerville techniques together towards the location of Vikir, exposing the cave. Andromalius could only look with horror and fear in his face as he realized what happened to his precious cave hideout. Half of the mountain had actually disappeared in the mix of those attacks from before. Hugo's voice could be heard clearly as he stood at the cliff. He was wondering why Vikir had asked to borrow the power to control all of Baskerville. It was so that he could hunt a demon. Hugo had appeared, along with Osiris and Boston, who stood by his sides. Hugo was pleased with Vikir's actions as he expected this from his son. Vikir humbly bows his head towards Hugo with his hand across his chest as a sign of respect, whereas Andromalius was shocked to see this sight. He couldn't believe that the patriarch of the Baskerville clan was here. Even the commanders and vice-patriarch Osiris were present as well. Looking at the endless shadowy figures standing on the cliff side by side, the demon slowly realized that the entire Baskerville clan was here right now. With his hand stretched out to call the attention of the entire Baskerville clan, Hugo announces to everyone present that for the next 6 hours, he hereby declares that Vikir van Baskerville, the possessor of the whistle, is to have full command over their entire force. Hearing that order, Vikir slowly opens his eyes, revealing his bright red bloodhound eyes. He slowly gives out his command, calling forth everyone, to rip Andromalius to shreds. The moment the command left his lips, a bloodhound had already appeared and stabbed Andromalius right in his chest, without even giving him a chance to react to the sudden attack. Soon enough, like a pack of dogs, the entire bloodhound forces rushed towards Andromalius like an endless bloody wave, cutting, stabbing and slicing the demon into pieces as per the orders of Vikir van Baskerville.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.